Hey, what's up? This is A-Data here. It goes without saying the North Face is a massive brand, and it's one from everyone from streetwear fans to dads to everywhere in between. I'd say one of their big strengths is how effectively they have combined the performance side of their brand with this newer lifestyle side of their brand. And although this has rubbed some people up the wrong way, who kind of feel like the performance stuff is a bit diluted and the North Face doesn't really mean now the same thing that it used to mean, it's hard to deny their success in doing so and just how pervasive the brand is now. A lot of their movement into streetwear and lifestyle clothing has been through two avenues. Firstly, you've had frequent collaborations with streetwear brands, Supreme being the big example. You've had annual collaborations with them for many years now, but there are plenty of other examples too, and that's a bit of an alignment of values. People recognize the cool streetwear brand like Supreme, and the North Face has a direct association with that. And secondly, the North Face have been releasing their own semi-limited collections with different either revisions of older stuff or different graphics or exclusive designs, things like their Rage collections, which I believe are annual now. You've got the North Face Extreme, the kind of retro alpine inspired stuff, and you've got now the North Face Steep Tech. We're going to look more closely into the latter, including some of my own experiences with this collection, because I feel like it's definitely been underrated or overlooked. Just seems like nobody's really talking about it. Steep Tech originally launched in 1991 as a snow sports focused collection designed in part with then champion skier Scott Schmidt, with all kinds of features designed specifically for use out there on the slopes. And some of those older jackets are still floating around, although to my understanding, fakes of them do also exist. This collection rose back into people's minds in the mid-2010s with the Supreme collab, which updated some of these designs whilst keeping some elements of that old sportswear collection, but of course with the ubiquitous Supreme branding. The prices on that stuff was pretty high, as you might expect, and that remains to be the case because of the limited availability of that stuff. It's just not that easy to find these days. Fast forward to 2020 and the North Face have re-released their own collection under Steep Tech at, of course, mainline North Face prices with much greater availability. And I picked up one thing from this collection, which was I've got here the Steep Tech fleece hoodie in white, so we'll go into a little bit more detail about this thing, what makes it interesting, is it worth considering, and I'll give some of my impressions on some other elements of the collection as well, which might be worth a look. If you're into streetwear, this fleece's similarity with the Supreme release will be quite obvious. I really like that high contrast look, and I think it makes a refreshing change from either the retro palette things or the all black stuff that we would typically expect from this kind of piece. It feels fresh and modern rather than a 90s revival piece, which I think is the case with some other elements of the collection which we'll look at later. I also think the dual zip is surprisingly current looking because it's just so unconventional. You wouldn't expect a zip up fleece to look like this, and it gives it a much more substantial and jacket-like look, I feel. It's definitely reminiscent of the Nike Lab ACG Alpine collar. The dual branding combined with a centralized logo really evokes that performance-centric look to me. It reminds me of some kind of expedition gear, as if something's got different sponsors or it's promoting different kinds of technology in the jacket. It looks like it's designed for actually doing something, and for that reason it makes a great techwear item. Of course, you can either wear this as a mid-layer. I've been enjoying using it under my Nemen Zephyr jacket because, well, that doesn't have a hood, whereas this thing does, and it looks pretty nice undone, so you can still see that nice zip and the Steep Tech branding too. But equally, this thing looks pretty decent when worn as an outer layer, I think, and it's down to those dual zips and that slightly protective look. It's obviously more technical looking than a zip up or a hoodie or anything like that, without resorting to adding weird buckles or pockets or things like that, which of course is always a good thing. Literally adding a backpack or some other kind of accessory to this, you immediately evoke that very obvious performance-centric technical look. And it cost you £85 or a little bit over $100 instead of many hundreds for an equivalent looking jacket. And of course it's not going to have anything like the same performance a jacket would, but we're not buying it with that expectation. How useful is that asymmetric dual zip though? Well, it's got its upsides and its downsides. On the shorter side, you can easily unzip that to give a little bit of ventilation to the neck, or on the opposite side, that one zips all the way down to the base of the jacket, giving you a much larger opening and one big flappy boy. For snow sports purposes, this is actually pretty useful because it means that you can very quickly dump a load of heat without having to totally remove the fleece. So if you're coming in off the mountain, going to get yourself some mulled wine before getting back out there, it means instead of stripping off a whole load of layers, you can just boom, do that nice long zip, and you're going to help keep yourself a lot cooler and more comfortable. In normal circumstances, it looks okay if you do this, but if you're getting hot enough that you actually need to have this all the way open, then you'd probably rather it just be a central conventional zip rather than having this big bit of material flapping around. It also means there's no left-hand pocket, which is kind of a shame. Personally, I would have preferred there being two zips here, so you can't quite undo the long side quite as much, but it means that you have a space there for your hand instead. Nonetheless, I think that stuff is kind of fun, and the look of it done up I think looks really cool. It's got this nice protective collar, it's clearly a little bit more substantial than your average hoodie. There's a super comfy fleece texture inside which gives a little bit of warmth without being too overbearing. It's quite common in these kind of North Face fleece products, I think. And the extended cuffs, which are a little bit snug, also feel quite nice and pleasant to wear. I also think the sizing is pretty bang on. I bought this in a medium, which is my regular size, and there's a tiny little bit of room in there to move around. It's not like super fitted or anything, but nor is it big and baggy and oversized. From a quality and a construction perspective, I think it's about what you can expect. This, of course, is not a luxury product. The North Face is very much mass market stuff. If you look inside, there's going to be some imperfect finishing and stuff like that, but I think it's okay personally. But it's good enough, and none of that stuff actually affects the appearance of this hoodie. So yeah, at the retail price, I think this is a pretty good pickup because you would typically expect to pay more, I think, for something that has this kind of look to it, and it also kind of feels decent from a quality perspective. Unique branding, design, functionality. It's kind of fun as well, I think, in a nice retro futuristic package. So yeah, it's a cool piece, I think, and a worthy wardrobe addition. This is even the kind of thing that I would recommend to someone that is perhaps interested in trying out techwear or experimenting with these kinds of looks, because it is so much cheaper than an equivalent jacket, but being North Face, you can still wear this with kind of regular clothing if you want to and not have it look super out of place. If you're not feeling the Snow Ops look, there is a blacked out version which actually looks significantly different because the branding has been kept black. So yeah, it really is a super stealthy look, and that's just going to be easy, super easy to wear with pretty much anything. What else is there in the collection though? There's a couple of graphic tees and stuff, so if you like the North Face but you want a different logo, then you could check out that stuff. A lot of the other pieces are far more retro inspired though because of these color blocked palettes that they've chosen to use, which are clearly very reminiscent of 90s sportswear and ski wear style. If you're not feeling the throwback thing, then you're mostly restricted to all black, but luckily there are still some cool options in that department. Specifically, you've got a couple of jackets. You've got the apogee anorak and an insulated version, the down anorak. Both of these have quite a similar style. That technical look is very clearly present, and it's clear that some of the same design cues from the fleece hoodie are still coming through there. More full featured, there's a lot of stuff going on here, it's more protective, and of course with that all important water resistance. And in black, I think they achieve a nice mix of the retro and the futuristic, and I think it's fairly easy to see how something like this could be styled in a more kind of urban futuristic way rather than the more retro snow sports side of things that they're kind of presenting with these product pictures. The belt is a little bit unusual on the anorak. I'm not sure if that has translated to off-slope use super well. You might actually be able to remove that. It's not really clear in the pictures. It might be stitched in. Depends how much you want to start cutting up the belt of your brand new couple of £100 jacket. But again, we're seeing a very obviously technical looking product that's going to be a decent quality because it's North Face and coming in relative to many of these other techwear jackets that we're used to seeing at a much more reasonable price. Take the Alpine, for example, it retailed at something like double these jackets. And yes, that is a bit of a different look, and it's made with Gore-Tex rather than North Face's own proprietary stuff, but you get the idea. Some of the accessories may be of interest as well. They've got this hip bag, which is pretty chunky, pretty full-featured, definitely the kind of thing that would lend itself to being worn more as a crossbody bag rather than on the hip. And they've also got this real big backpack too, which definitely has some big hiker core vibes, especially in the retro-looking version, where it's got those nice big big kind of yellow, almost kind of safety danger tape looking straps. I think that could be quite interesting. I should mention, slightly confusingly, just before they launched the mainline North Face Deep Tech stuff, they did bring out a collection under the North Face Black as well. This is the more premium and more fashion focused arm of the North Face. So if you see some things that look like they're Steep Tech but they're weirdly far more expensive, then that is the reason why. Some of the Black Series stuff did go on sale on Black Friday, so if there's anything that you like, keep it bookmarked, I suppose, and at the end of the season we might also see some more reductions on that stuff, making it a more reasonable price. I'm not a massive fan of that orange look that they've gone for most of this stuff, but I do think that the Himalayan Duster, that massive jacket, looks super fun, and the Crestvale boots as well, this kind of sneaker boot thing, that might be up some people's street as well, and that's definitely going to fit in with this kind of steep tech, technical aesthetic. And those are £210, so they're kind of a less crazy retail price compared to a lot of the other Black Series things. But at those kinds of prices, there are loads more brands that you could be looking at. I'm just not sure if my mind would go to the North Face. So that's the North Face Deep Tech collection. Let me know down there in the comments if you've picked up any of this stuff already, or if you think that this was underrated in some way. Maybe you've been sleeping on it, or yeah, maybe it's just not for you. Either way, do share your thoughts down there in the comments. It is always appreciated. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like, because that's just as appreciated, if not more appreciated. And thank you so much for watching the video, and we will see you next week with another video. Shout out to everyone that has managed to spot my TikTok account that I created. I didn't really announce it anywhere here, but I've just been kind of quietly making some little bits of techwear content out there just to see how it would go down. And yeah, it seems like people have been enjoying them so far. So yeah, go and check that out, I suppose. Here's the official TikTok plug. Made a new channel. There's some little videos on there which are different to the YouTube stuff and all of that. So yeah, have a look. Let me know if you enjoy them. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to catch some more, there's going to be links going up at the top. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then you can hit that button and you can do that. And let YouTube know that this is a cool channel worth subscribing to, because believe me, that really is super helpful. We've got a bunch more stuff coming up, new videos every week, of course. Not sure on the exact order, because it depends on when things arrive from the postal service. You guys probably already know delays, things don't show up when they're supposed to, etc. But we're doing stuff when we can. All right, that really is everything. Peace.